What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Or welcome if it's your first time here. You know, most people here in the U.S. do not want to admit and will actually get hostile if you tell them that the United States is collapsing. They want to think that it's not as bad as it seems. They want to think that something's going to happen to fix everything, you know, an election. They're going to elect this leader and he's going to come in and going to fix all of our problems. It's going to be just glorious again. Because they don't want to admit what's actually going on and where it's actually heading. The United States is a collapsing empire. I mean, it is obvious at this point. It is a collapsing empire. We are losing the dominance that we had over the world. And if you look at the Roman Empire during its heyday and during its collapse, and if you compare the Roman Empire with the United States, you can see the parallels between the two. It took Rome a lot longer to crash. The United States is going to crash much more quickly, in my opinion, because of the way things are tied together now in this modern world we have. And most people just can't see it. We have the politicians who seem to think that no matter what they do, it's not going to matter. They can do whatever they want to as far as the spending goes, and it's not going to have any effect on anything. I think they're too completely detached from reality. We have other politicians that actually, I think, are complacent and want the United States to collapse. We have part of the federal government, or certain figures in the federal government, working for Communist China. We have others that are for the World Economic Forum and the globalists and all this climate agenda. So we have different factions inside the United States. We have just complete idiots. We have people working for the climate cult. We have people working for Communist China. No doubt probably working for Russia. But I know for sure Communist China and the globalists, and there's some in there that are just completely clueless about how things work and what's going on. Some of these politicians, I mean, they're so stupid that they probably can't wipe their own ass, unfortunately. And we're seeing the results of that now. The United States is a dying empire. Like I said, you look at the Roman Empire, how the Roman Empire rose, how they had military bases all over the continent, trying to force their military might in different locations. They were stretched thin. They devalued their currency. They spend. They collapsed morally. If you look at everything that happened to the Roman Empire compared to the United States today, I mean, it is uncanny at the similarities between the two. The United States is a collapsing empire, and no politician is going to be elected. No selection is going to change the course of the country, in my opinion. When you look at the national debt right now, we have, I think currently it's nearly $32 trillion officially. Some people say it's much higher than that. And I would say most likely it probably is, but the official national debt is like $32 trillion right now. And I think it's going to increase over the next 2 years to probably $40 to $45 trillion because of the way they're spending. They have sent billions of dollars to Ukraine, currency, billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine. They have bailed out banks several different times. They have bailed out just about everyone pretty much at one time or another. And they keep bailing out these too big to fail banks and corporations. And it's billions of dollars in currency just printed off and threw out there into the system. And they're still doing it. We didn't. Joe Biden did in his regime, left billions of dollars in weapons and probably actual currency in Afghanistan. And those weapons, those weapons he left in Afghanistan were sold off in the black market, what the Taliban couldn't use, what was too sophisticated for them to use. They sold that to Russia and China and Iran, North Korea, and they are reverse engineering all that, figuring out how things work, what they can incorporate into their own systems, and how to defeat our systems. I mean, it was complete, utter ridiculous. And it was done on purpose, because he wanted to make the Taliban stronger. You think all the weapons we left since Joe Biden's been in office, all the weapon systems that the United States has keep giving away. In Afghanistan, and now Ukraine. Billions and billions and billions of dollars in weapons, rockets, missiles, ammunition, firearms, everything, tanks, jets, helicopters, pretty much everything was left in Afghanistan. And they're shipping everything we have to Ukraine now to make us weaker. And I saw a few days ago, I forgot who it was talking about this, but they said that the United States, it was a high-ranking official here in the U.S., and the Biden's regime, department, what you want to call it, he was saying that they're going to increase military spending by 40%. How are you going to increase military spending by 40%? Print, 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 print. And that money on military spending is going to stay here in the United States. So what's that mean? It means more inflation. And they said they're doing this because they know a war with China is coming by 2025. They pretty much set a date for it, 2025. So they're going to spend, put that money into that currency into the system, meaning that everything that we have currency-wise is going to be worth less and less. Property, the things we need, necessities, are going to go up in price because of that inflation. We're going to see hyperinflation, in my opinion, and the economy keep getting worse and worse. And they know this. That's why they don't care to keep spending, because they know the United States is losing its ability to control the world, to dictate world events, to dictate what other nations do. And they know that they're losing the dollar as the world reserve currency. Right now, we're already in World War III. Right now, it says a currency war with China. We have the proxy war with Russia and Ukraine. So already in World War III right now. But it hasn't gotten off yet to actual United States shooting missiles into China and China shooting missiles back. Actual bodies coming back home to China and the United States from this war. And it's going to be a heck of a war, and they know it. And I think that China and Russia, Iran, North Korea, it's going to be a world war, and things are going to be much different than the wars we've had over the last few decades. It's going to be much, people think that a war with China is going to be like a war that we had with the Taliban, for example, in Afghanistan, or with Iraq during the Gulf War, Desert Storm. They think it's going to be like that, but it's not. China and Russia both had the ability to hit the United States here in the mainland. They have advanced weapon systems. They have hypersonic missiles. They're much more capable of defending themselves than Iraq was or the Taliban. Taliban's more capable now after Biden and his regime left all kinds of weapons there and currency for them to use. They're more powerful now than they were. So we spent 20 years in Afghanistan. 20 years in Afghanistan, spending billions of dollars in Afghanistan, building their infrastructure up, and just poured out and left. And now the Taliban is still there, and they're more powerful now than they were when the United States first went into Afghanistan. It's amazing. The things the United States does, the decisions our government makes, is completely mind-boggling. I think that some of the politicians are just completely ignorant, just stupid. Think Maxine Waters, for example, Nancy Pelosi, for example. I mean, she's retired now, but there's others in there like that, that's completely clueless. They don't know what's going on, corrupt. And there's others, like Joe Biden, for example, and there's others that are working directly for the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party. There's others that are working for the globalist, the World Economic Forum, and the climate cult, trying to put that agenda in. We have different agendas working, with none of it having the benefit and the growth of the United States or protecting the people and the country and our Constitution or anything. Everything they are trying to do goes against all of that, and they don't care. We really have no one in the federal government that's working for the country and it's working for us and our rights. There's probably a few in Congress, but they don't have no power, and they know this. That's the whole setup in the political system in Washington, D.C. they allow a few in to look like they have opposition, to look like elections are fair when they're really not. They let a few people in, and those few people will cause a little bit of stink. They will go on the news, they will make speeches and things, but they really have no power to change anything. It's business as usual, corruption as usual. And the Roman Empire, they, like I said, they had their military spread out thin, trying to control pretty much the world. They wanted world domination, like the United States has been doing. They debased their currency. They lost their morality. I mean, they worked more about pleasure and served bread and circuses than actually keeping their country strong. And it eventually collapsed. It got weaker and weaker and weaker till it eventually collapsed. The United States is going to be the same way. It's happening now. We're seeing that now. If you've ever taken a chicken and wrung its neck, you take it by the head and you get hold of its head, you shake it around really good, and you do it like that and break its neck. And you throw it down and it will flop. That's what the United States is doing right now. They're on the ground, they're flopping, and the United States is dying. And when the United States, an empire like this, sees they're losing their power structure, they're losing their hegemony, they lash out militarily. The currency's collapsing. The world is getting off the dollar as the world reserve currency. So what do we have left? The military. That's why they're increasing military spending. That's why they're going to have World War III, because war, if all this fails, take us to war. That's where we're going to, guys. And war with China is going to affect the United States greatly. Like I said, it's going to be much different than the wars we've had in Iraq, Afghanistan, for example. Vietnam, it's going to be different than all of those. It's going to be much worse than all those combined, because these countries can cut the United States off from a lot of goods. I mean, you look at Taiwan, all the microchips, I think it's 90% of the microchips comes from Taiwan. Dog barking over there. I hate that's aggravating. But anyway, 90% of the microchips come from Taiwan. War breaks out, we're not going to have those. You look at everything shipped from China over to here. We can make it ourselves, but we don't have the infrastructure set up anymore. They've shut everything down. Too many rules, regulations, too many bureaucrats, and taxes. And it'd be more expensive if they did make it here. And so all that stuff you see like at Walmart, most everything pretty much is made in China and shipped over here. I was working at a hardwood flooring plant about 14 years ago, I guess it was, and they were talking about shutting the plant down. And one of the higher ups in management in the meeting told us that they could ship the wood from here to China and have the wood manufactured in the flooring and ship it back cheaper than they can make it here. So this war is going to mean strikes inside the United States. It's going to mean higher prices for sure, because we're going to be fighting inflation also, because all the spending they're doing and have been doing and will keep doing as long as they possibly can. And they're going to be less goods, so it's going to be a mess. But you may be paying 20, 40, 100 times more for just basic things you can get now, and very cheaply, like at Walmart. You may be buying those, if you can find those used, you'll be paying a lot more for that. And that's where, having silver and gold comes in, especially silver, for barter and exchange when that dollar loses its value completely. It's losing value now. It's going to hyperinflate, and it may cost, a stack of $100 bills this deep to buy, a shovel. Like, I saw pictures of Venezuela, and the guy was going into the shop. I think he was trying to buy some fish, I think it was. He was trying to buy something in the shop, and they still had, some fish and things like that to sell. He went in and he took currency that thick, was trying to buy something with that currency. And from what I read in the article, no one would accept it because it wasn't worth anything. It was just paper to build a fire with, wipe your rear end with, or whatever it's always good for. The United States dollar is going the same exact way. They know this. It's hardly going to be going to actual World War III with missiles, bullets, mortar, aircraft carriers, everything going everywhere, because they're going to establish themselves. The United States is losing. They know it. So they're going to try to take it back militarily. They're losing economic war. They're losing the dollar. They're losing their currency. They're losing their ability to dictate to the world how the world should act and what the world should do, what they think they should do. They're losing that. They're like that chicken, then they're flopping. And they're going to lash out militarily because that's the last chance they have of gaining that hegemony back. And that's why this whole talk about World War III and everything going on now is happening, because it's a power struggle going on right now, and it's going to get worse, and they know it's going to go into all-out World War III. United States, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, NATO, and it's untelling who else is going to pick sides between now and 2025. It could come before that, but officially they're saying 2025. And the United States is trying to build up for that war. And, you know, if I was China, I wouldn't let the United States build it up. I would do it before they had the chance to build their military power up. Because the United States right now is very, very weak. Like I said, we have sent so much military equipment to Ukraine and left so much military equipment in Afghanistan. The military right now is woke, and there will be a draft, guaranteed there will be a draft, because nobody will want to go fight World War III. They dare stay home and fight on their video games. So they're not going to go voluntarily. So there'll be a draft. That's going to happen. A draft is going to happen for this World War III that's coming. So if you have children that are military age, more than likely they'll be drafted. So think about what you're going to do when that happens. You're going to let your child go. You're going to try to hide the child out. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to let them go fight this war with China? The United States could have avoided, actually. The United States would have done things differently. They could have avoided most of what's going on now. But they wanted to print currency. They wanted to dictate the world. And that's what we're seeing the results of right now, is the world pushing back. And like I said a minute ago, you know, we have different factions working inside the federal government and state governments also, but especially at the federal level, different factions that are trying to work for their own masters and their own agendas. We have, like I said, some people in there like Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and people like that. Pelosi's not there anymore, but people like that are still there. There's quite a few of them in there, actually, that are completely stupid, don't know any better, and just going along with whatever they're told to do, pretty much. We have people over here working for the globalists and the whole climate agenda. We have people working for the communist China, all inside the federal government. And that's why we have this completely open southern border. People just walking right across. They're letting everyone come right across the border because they don't want no borders. They want this globalist government this one side over here does. And you have the other side that are going to be using the open border to infiltrate the United States. You know, they can't come over here, probably. They might be able to come over here carrying rocket launchers, for example, and mortars and ammunition and firearms and stuff across the border, but they can find stuff here. They know enough to be able to improvise things. And when this war breaks out, they're already here. They're already infiltrated. You know, I've read that there is chicken hawk across over there on top of my chicken coop, just about it, in that tree. He seen me move and he flew off. But anyway, that southern border is wide open, and you know China is sending those people, those military-age males, across that border. They've probably been trained already. When they come over here, they know their mission, and they're dedicated. And they're waiting until this war breaks out, and they're here in the United States, and they will wage war inside the United States via terrorist attacks, explosions, bombings, and things like that. We're infiltrated deeply here in the United States. The government, the federal government, has been infiltrated deeply by the communist Chinese. Take, you know, Cocaine Mitch McConnell from over in Kentucky. He's married to a Chinese woman. Chinese national, I think it was. So think about that, guys. Stupidity. The whole country has been ran by morons or people with agendas that don't benefit the country or the people here in the United States. And we have so much corruption at the federal level, and it's another thing that the Roman Empire had, was so much corruption, so much greed, so much perversion. And we see that here in the United States. I mean, so many parallels, and it's going to be a lot different. I don't think the United States is going to completely just disappear. Because land mass here, we have people here, but things are going to be much, much more different. And you know, if all World War III happens, it could be nuclear war here in the United States, nuclear bombs falling here in the U.S., nuclear missiles hitting here in the U.S. So who knows what's going to happen? It's a scary situation, but I guarantee you that the United States is losing its dominance. Pretty much has lost its dominance. It's going to get much worse. We've lost the dollar as the Federal Reserve currency. The United States is going to lash out because the only thing they have left is military power. Try to start building military power up, trying to. They're going to lash out in World War III because they want to take that dominance back. It's a power struggle is what it is, guys. And like I said, it's not going to be like the wars we've had in Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam. It's going to be much different than that. It's going to affect us right here on our own soil, and we could be invaded here in the United States. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we've already been invaded here in the United States across the southern border. But who knows? You know, there may be Chinese troops here on U.S. soil openly. I think there already are Chinese troops here in the United States across the border, terrorist cells. But I'm talking about Chinese military here on U.S. soil, especially in some urban areas. You know, kind of like the United States has done to other countries like Iraq and Afghanistan, for example. Go in, control those countries, their military. We may see that here, the same thing, but with Chinese troops here on our soil. I don't know if it's going to happen. I can't say 100% that it's going to, but it's definitely a possibility. And don't think that it's not, because it definitely is, because the United States is falling. It's a collapsing empire. And unfortunately, it's going to happen, and it's difficult to prepare for, but do the best you can, prepare the best you can, stockpile as much as you can, because you have to eat, you have to have clean drinking water, you have to have food, you have to have medications. Get armed now while you still can, because the federal government is trying to ban our firearms, trying to ban full capacity magazines. They'd like to completely ban firearms completely. So get what you can now, get armed, ammunition, get body armor, get gas masks, get protective equipment. Get ready, because it's coming. It is coming. I hate to admit it, but it's coming, and you've been warned. We all know it. The writing's on the wall. Get ready, prepare, and that dog is ready. Hear him? He's ready. Anyway, like I said, guys, it's coming. Prepare, get ready. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching the Creekmore out here, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.